Hello, my name is Janene Yazzie. I am a proud Dene woman coming to you from the territories of my peoples located in the Southwest United States. I serve as the Sustainable Development Coordinator for International Indian Treaty Council, whom I also represent as co convenor of the Indigenous Peoples Major Group for Sustainable Development. I will be sharing with you the history and opportunities for Indigenous peoples to engage with the High Level Political Forum on the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the 2030 Agenda. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is built upon decades of work. Beginning in June 1992 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, when 178 countries adopted Agenda 21 as a comprehensive plan of action to build a global partnership for sustainable development with the goal to improve human lives and to protect the environment. It was during this time that the Indigenous Peoples Major Group was formed. Building off this work, in the year 2000, at the Millennium Summit held at the UN headquarters in New York, the member states adopted the Millennium Development Goals, which were a set of 8 goals aimed to reduce extreme poverty by 2015. Indigenous peoples and civil society stakeholders pushed back against these goals as insufficient due to the lack of meaningful involvement of civil society stakeholders and Indigenous peoples in the development of the goals. It wasn't until 2007, when the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples was passed by the United Nations, that we gained a strong foundation of rights for Indigenous peoples. Specifically, Article 20 on the right to subsistence and development, Article 32 on the importance of upholding the free, prior, and informed consent standard in development, and Article 42, which obligates all states and all the bodies under the UN system to promote respect for and full application of the provisions of the Declaration, that we had a strong foundation for Indigenous peoples' engagement in the discussions that led to the development of the SDGs. For example, in 2012, at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, also known as Rio Plus 20, member states adopted the outcome document entitled The Future We Want to launch a process to develop a set of sustainable development goals and to establish the UN High Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. Due to the incredible advocacy of representatives of the Indigenous Peoples Major Group, paragraph 49 of the outcome document specifically states that we, meaning member states, stress the importance of the participation of Indigenous peoples in the achievement of sustainable development. We also recognize the importance of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples in the context of global, regional, national, and subnational implementation of sustainable development strategies. Following this, in 2014, at the high level plenary meeting of the General Assembly, known as the World Conference on Indigenous Peoples, the General Assembly adopted the outcome document, which explicitly recognized in Article 37 that Indigenous peoples have the right to determine and develop priorities and strategies for exercising their right to development. In this regard, we commit ourselves to giving due consideration of all the rights of Indigenous peoples in the elaboration of the post 2015 development agenda. That same year, the founding members of the IPMG met in New York to work off these advancements and began drafting the Indigenous Peoples Matrix and positions for the SDGs. They advocated for a rights based approach based on the minimum standards in the UN Declaration for full participation of Indigenous peoples, for free, prior, and informed consent to be affirmed in all stages of sustainable development, such as planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. They also advocated for protection for land and resource rights, traditional livelihoods, knowledge, and food sovereignty. And finally, for culture to be recognized as the fourth pillar of sustainable development. After a year of negotiations, the UN General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda entitled Transforming Our World in September of 2015. This established the 17 interconnected goals and 169 targets to measure implementation of the goals by 2030. The final document included 6 mentions of Indigenous peoples. 3 mentions were in the preamble, in paragraphs 23, 25, and 52, which stress the importance of empowerment, engagement, and education of Indigenous peoples. In SDG 2, Target 2.3 on ending hunger through sustainable agriculture. Then in SDG 4, Target 4.5 about ensuring access to education for Indigenous peoples. And lastly, in paragraph 79, about Indigenous peoples' participation in follow-up and review. Aside from the specific mentions of Indigenous peoples, other goals and targets address Indigenous peoples' priorities, such as human rights, particularly inequality, participation, and access to justice, environmental sustainability, land rights, poverty and hunger reductions, seed diversity and sustainable agriculture, access to social security, health, and education, and overcoming discrimination, inequality, and conflict. A 2016 report completed by the Danish Institute for Human Rights found that 92% of the goals are linked to human rights and that 73 of the 169 targets have substantial links to the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples or to the International Labor Organization, or ILO's, Convention 169 on Indigenous and Tribal Peoples' Rights. What is missing in the goals are specific mentions of Indigenous peoples' land and resource rights, recognition of collective rights and traditional knowledge, and self-determination, treaty rights, and the free, prior, and informed consent standard. This is why Indigenous peoples must continue to be involved in monitoring and implementing the SDGs at both the country and the UN levels to address these shortfalls and ensure that these and other rights are protected. This is where the bulk of the work by the Indigenous Peoples Major Group comes in. The IPMG is one of 9 formally recognized major groups that engage with the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. 2 Indigenous Peoples organizations, International Indian Treaty Council and Tepteba Foundation, serve as the co-conveners of the IPMG. Representatives of the IPMG organize involvement of Indigenous peoples from the 7 geographical regions of the UN. The acting focal points of these regions can be found on our IPMG website. In addition to facilitating engagement with the HLPF, the IPMG also coordinates Indigenous peoples' participation in assessing voluntary national reviews and participation in expert group meetings on the SDGs. The IPMG also develops and compiles reports and inputs speaking to the themes and annual reviews of the 2030 Agenda. The High-Level Political Forum takes place annually, every July over the course of 2 weeks. The program of work is organized under a set theme and includes review of 6 SDGs with Goal 17 on strengthening the means of implementation and revitalizing the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development considered every year as part of those 6 goals. Much like the UN Permanent Forum, there are opportunities to host side events around important topics and themes, and opportunities to provide interventions during the discussions on the different goals. The IPMG helps facilitate participation, development of statements, and organizing speakers to ensure gender and regional balance throughout these activities. In terms of the voluntary national reviews, this is a process in which member states voluntarily conduct regular and inclusive reviews of progress at the national and subnational levels, which are country-led and country-driven. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the SDG framework calls on Indigenous peoples and other major groups to engage actively in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals, including in the follow-up and review on the national level to ensure that progress for Indigenous peoples is reflected. It also calls on states to engage with Indigenous peoples and other major groups to achieve these goals on the country level. Member states are supposed to draw on contributions from Indigenous peoples, civil society, and private sector and other stakeholders in line with national circumstances, policies, and priorities. Towards this end, the IPMG alerts our regional representatives and our listserv on submission of VNRs from member states. We solicit input from the country level and, where needed, provide guidance on ways to engage in the development of shadow reports, interventions, and country-level processes. Because the SDGs are about meeting measurable targets towards sustainable development, Engagement with the high-level political forum and related processes is an excellent opportunity to highlight community-based solutions, best practices in sustainable development, and to continue to advocate for the rights and needs of Indigenous peoples for meaningful participation in sustainable development decisions, projects, and progress. Many of our priorities remain the same in advocating for rights-based approaches and solutions for sustainable development. If you are interested in getting involved, you can join our listserv, or you can find past reports, statements, and other information on our website or on the SDG Knowledge Exchange platform. Thank you very much.